Just Eff It. Hi, I'm Romy, an identity coach helping others who struggle with their sexual identity and families of queer youth find their path of understanding and acceptance.
And I'm Carla, a mom empowerment coach empowering moms to own their new identities and motherhood journeys.
And together we are the EFFing Madres. We are here to invite you guys into stories of some inspiring madres
who have changed their lives through an Eff It moment. So here we go. Just Eff It.
All right, everybody. Happy Monday. We are
Monday.
The EFFing Madres. I'm Romy. This is Carla. Two mamas, two best friends, two Latinas, bringing mothers in to share their big Eff It moments, inspiring stories that they've gone through, are going through, want to go through, to share with you guys, and just kind of how that affects them, the mind shift, their family, pretty much everything around them, right?
Yep, that's right. Yeah. And hopefully it inspires other moms to take that first step, because that's the hardest step to take.
Yeah, it definitely is. You have that thought, but to act on it and move with it is like the most terrifying thing. And the reason this is mothers in particular, you know, we are moms. We had this moment as moms, but once you become a mom, the fears around doing those things are so much like heightened because you have a child and a family and like the responsibility of like another human being. So it just is a whole new layer to do big scary things with a child than when you are just independently on your own. And we have experienced that.
Yeah, for sure. It is a lot more intense and a lot more scary. But you know, people are doing it. So we're doing it and we want to share those stories. We're on the path, but we're sharing those stories of moms who have done it or who are in the same situation like we are and are like on the journey as well. I think it's important to hear when people are on the journey, because we're so used to hearing it as the polished ending and everyone's like, oh, you know, look at them, whatever. But it's nice to share, at least in my opinion, show the progress and like the trials and tribulations of what these journeys are like, because they're not always pretty and they're super messy, and we've fallen down and emotionally and mentally. And so I think it's important for people to see that it's just not a smooth ride.
No, and that we have community and that we see you, you know, and that a lot of us moms are in this together because so often we feel alone. Today we have a mama on, Allison. She is a yoga teacher here in Austin. I've taken her classes a few times at Black Swan, and I followed her on social media. She followed me, just watched her journey, her positive like post, you know, the way she takes care of herself mentally and physically. We had reached out, and then she had posted us as like her top podcast for the brand new year. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, like we were her like top listened to podcast. And like, I remember I shared it and I was like, just, it felt so good. And I reached out to her and I was just like, you know, thank you. And she was just like, I just like love what you guys are doing. And I was like, well, I'm sure you as a mom have a moment. Like, we'd love to have you on. And she was like, oh, I'd feel so honored. So she's going to come on and share. It is about divorce. I'll let her get into that more, walking away from a marriage. So I'm interested to hear a little deeper of what that looked like. There's always lots of different reasons why people need to get themselves out of those situations, right? And when we have kids, it's a lot.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah. So I'm excited to have her on. I also wanted to mention, if anybody is watching us, I have our Eff It Madre hoodie on. We both are using our Eff It Madre mugs, and I'm just going to do a nice shout out here. We are going to be selling merch. So
yes, we are. It's going to be brighter than this.
Yeah, it's going to be brighter.
These are our samples. And I would be wearing my sweatshirt, but I think there's fecal matter from my daughter on it, so I'm not wearing it right now. I really wanted to, but
appropriate.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's like poop on it, so I'm just not going to wear it.
Well, I just wanted to shout it out. So if you guys are watching, we are kind of working on them. We're like fixing the areas we need to fix. We're getting them all like, you know, to where we want them, but we can't wait for you guys to be able to rock our hoodies and our mugs and our hats. So yeah.
They're like, I got to admit, like, I'm really proud of them. I think that they look really, really great.
They
and
do.
I
They
love
do.
wearing them.
Yes.
Even my husband, who is like the most anal, retentive, picky motherfucker,
Yeah.
he's like, "These look great."
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So
I have it on at the gym right now every day. I feel like super cute. I'm excited for the hat. And for anyone also listening, our blog posts are up. They go up on Wednesdays. Go check out our blog post where you can purchase our merch, and all the fun things we're doing are going to be going up on our website. So go on there, subscribe, be a part of our community more than just tuning in.
all right.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, enough about us. We're going to be bringing Allison in just a second. All right.
Okay, everybody, we have Allison with us, and we are just going to jump right on in.
Okay, Allison, the first question is, what brought about this mental shift that made you say F it, that you're going to talk about right now?
So, a culmination of things. I was married very young, 18 years old, a couple months after graduation. I was pregnant. My ex my boyfriend at the time joined the military. So, went to war right away. In 2001, came back. I had been raising a baby, and he was different. We struggled for 14 years. I stayed in a marriage that was abusive. He was an alcoholic. It was a lot. We ended up having another child in there. It was just, but over those years, taking the abuse, I knew I needed to get out. There was this voice in my head that this isn't how anyone should be treated. But I grew up in my family seeing fighting, toxic relationships. That's what I learned. That's what I dealt with. But again, in the back of my mind, I knew this isn't good. I need out. So 14 years in, my then husband went to Korea and family couldn't come. We weren't approved. I looked at that as my way out. I was like, I have a full year to just go after what I need to do to take care of me. There was a reason we didn't get approved to go, because I knew I didn't want in that marriage anymore. I'm glad I have tissues nearby.
Yes.
um, but I took abuse for a very long time, and towards the end of my marriage, it continued to get worse. What made me have that F it moment was the abuse to my oldest son. So that was a hard limit for me, and I knew I had to get out. So it was soon after that the military sent him to Korea for a full year. And right after he left, basically 2 weeks after he left, I was like, I want a divorce. So I just went on my F it moment to take care of me. Like, it was a huge leap, huge risk. I had been on like just a part-time jobs here and there. I basically got to raise my kids up into that point. So it was scary because I knew it was going to be all on me. Yeah.
That you have me already like emotional. Like I'm teary eyed. You're teary eyed. We don't know anyone's story. This is the thing. We don't know anyone's story, right? Like I can follow you and I can see your beautiful journey right now. And I was saying that as I brought you in, like watching you, like I'm like emotional with it, but like watching you be like such like a fierce mama taking care of yourself, and then to not ever know that like that was something that like you just don't know, right? Like that you had to overcome that, and that you're in this shining space that you are health wise, it seems, mentally and physically, and just living your best life. But
Finally.
that right, but that was like your battle that got you here, and like I really
Yeah.
can't thank you enough for being vulnerable and sharing this with us, because these are those effort moments, and you being honest about that being what you knew being so young, and then even knowing, and I appreciate you saying this, that in that year you knew you had a year to figure things out. There are so many women, and we hear this about divorce all the time, you're out sometimes 20 years before you're even really out. Women stay very long even though they're out, trying to figure out how to get out. And that is a real truth that I hear about, read about. So you saying that, like, I knew I had a year. No one just leaves in a minute.
No.
Yeah.
And even before he went to Korea, really good friends knew I wasn't happy. I was saying, fake it till you make it. I knew I was in a toxic relationship, an abusive, narcissistic relationship. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to get away. Had he been in the same city, it would have been more explosive. I mean, I don't even, I can't
I mean,
even,
God works in mysterious ways, whatever your God is, right? Universe works in mysterious ways.
the timing was perfect and I was ready, scared,
Yeah.
but ready. I had to.
That's what I was going to say though. The universe clearly, like with you not getting approved to go to Korea, like that literally was like the universe saying, okay, Allison, this is your shot. This is your chance. And so it's great that you followed your gut instinct because, like Romy said, so many people don't because they're raised in a way that's like, you can't do this. It's so bad, whatever. But like, you got to do you, especially if your children are at stake, you know? I mean, in any divorce, if there's children, children are always at stake. But if there's physical abuse, like that's why, and that's another thing I was going to say, like, usually the fierce mamas are fierce for a reason. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there is a reason why you
Yes.
are as fierce as you are because you've gone through some shit
Yep.
and
Yeah.
you've pulled through
Yes.
and you're on the other side. So,
Hmm. Yeah. I know a lot of women that stay still in
yeah.
really violent marriages that aren't supportive. And my mom stayed married to my dad for 27 years for the children. But again,
Mm-hmm.
I watched them fight every day of their marriage. And for what? Like, it taught me that that was love, that that was a relationship, that, I didn't learn those skills. So now I have to teach my children so they don't repeat those cycles.
I come from that same background, Allison. My mom stayed, I think, for 15 years in an unhealthy relationship as well. And I've always said, I didn't grow up getting to see the opportunity to see a healthy relationship. So how the hell would I know one, right? And I think that's what makes us work even harder to show our children one because we know the results of not growing up in one.
Hmm.
The therapy bills are through the
The
roof.
therapy bills are high, guys, okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'd like to do my best to save my daughter from as much, even though I'm for sure causing it already. But that's life, right? That's life.
Right.
Yeah.
No, my boys are grown now. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
there you go. Oh yeah, yours were so like you were so young.
Yes, they're 22 and 18 now, so I did it.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
wild. Okay, so my next question then would be, what positive and negative things did you learn about yourself starting this journey?
So many. So when you go through that journey, it's this unpacking. A divorce, you lose friends and even family. So it's like you lose everything. It's like a fresh start. So
Yeah.
you really start to evaluate who's around you, who's
Yes.
supportive, who fills your cup, who is giving you good advice. And I didn't have a lot of it. So truly, I turned to whatever I could get for free on the internet,
Mhm.
YouTube, motivational podcasts.
Yes.
I learned that I am resilient,
Mhm.
that I'm very, very strong, determined. It's the Aries in me, I'm certain. But I learned a lot of really things I didn't like about myself, which you should when you're really growing. Getting away from the gossipy circles that, you tend to get stuck in and just unlearning things.
Mhm.
Sitting with myself for a really long time to realize how I got there. It wasn't just like, oh, my family's toxic. This was after years of doing the work, realizing, oh shit, that's why I stayed in that marriage. That's why
Mhm.
I accepted that. That's why I didn't see all these red flags until I was outside of it. I
Yeah.
did not know the depths of the trauma I had endured as a child and how that carried into adulthood. So just really unpacking all those things and learning my role in the demise of my marriage. And not to say I could have made it work at all, but just realizing my mistakes and everything, and just teaching myself to do better. So I learned that I am super resilient, determined.
So resilient. But I want to thank you for saying, like, recognizing you, because I too, and I know Carla and all of us who are going through the unpacking of our own stuff, right? It's important that we do recognize our part in them. Not that we are victims to them, or not that we, any of that, right? Or that it's not valid what we're going through, because abuse is valid. You have a right to like experience that and feel that. But also, it is important to figure out how we got ourselves there so that we don't get ourselves there ever again.
Right. It's
Right.
like taking constant evaluation of who's around you, what you're taking in, song, television, all of it, what you're reading or not reading. It's that constant evaluation. I like to say we upgrade our phone every time Apple or Samsung gives us the opportunity, but how often are you upgrading yourself? Really doing
Yes.
that. Apple's got one every 3 months. Do
Yep.
you? Like, are you taking that same plug yourself in, sit with yourself for a little while? Yeah, it was a journey, but I had to spend a lot of time alone. And the divorce helped because a lot of people left.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why these effort moments are so important though, because it's the impetus for you to start actually like realizing that you need that upgrade. If you don't have that effort moment, you're like not aware, because you haven't had that mental shift. You're just going through life in that comfy zone. Even if it's an uncomfortable comfy zone, it's like what you know and it's what's familiar, even though deep down it's not. But it's like these moments really do trigger this like, oh my god, like
Hmm.
I need to be a different person. Like I need to not be the old person anymore because that old person was allowing all of this shit to happen. I need to change and
Yes.
to be a better person, to be a new person, a person that doesn't allow this shit to happen to them anymore.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Yep. And using my voice, which I was never really allowed to do. I was
Mhm.
very quieted, whether that's from that verbal abuse of feeling not enough. But even in this military life, like there's things you can't say or opinions you can't have.
Yeah.
So I came from that. So it was really learning how to stand up for myself, how to set boundaries, which is fucking hard. I don't know if I can say fuck.
Yeah, but once you do it, Allison, once you use your voice and once you do start breaking that's what we say about effort moments. Once you have an effort moment, they just keep fucking happening. Once you start breaking and using your voice, that you can't shut you up. You know what I mean? Like once you break free, that voice is free, that fuck it moment is free, and it's like watch out, right? Because now you're breaking that boundary, you're breaking that cage.
Yeah.
Yeah. And while I was going through this, I was losing my father to brain cancer. So simultaneously.
Oh
Yeah.
Jesus.
So it was like just
Yep.
life
Yep.
coming
Ugh.
at me. So yeah, I was divorced and my father passed within the same 30 days.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's
So yeah,
really,
it
really
was
rough.
a lot.
Penny mentioned last week during hers and she talked about it and we all can like relate to this is these things happen in our lives. Things don't slow down and stop while you're going through an effort moment. The people around you don't stop needing you or don't not get sick. Life still keeps happening that is traumatic and hard and real. And how do you keep moving forward with your growth while life is throwing this around you? And that is what makes you the most resilient badass human that like all of us on here are because
Yeah.
I get that so much. I'm so sorry, but I get it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
So Allison, I know that was a negative thing that happened with your father passing in the divorce, but what from the effort moment and saying I need to get out of this, what new opportunities, what sorts of opportunities that were positive opened up for you? Obviously aside from leaving, what opened up for you after saying F it?
Well, I'm a yoga teacher now, and I probably wouldn't be had I not. I mean, every yes leads you, once you look back, you're like, oh, if I hadn't said yes to that, I wouldn't have done this and this. So it's just this
Mhm.
ripple effect of taking inventory, what needs to leave. After I got divorced, I realized my job was toxic and breaking me
Yes.
down, and I had to get out of it. So the universe was fully aligning for me. Opportunities were coming. Um, I got a little sum of money from my mother, and I put it right into a yoga teacher training immediately. So those just little moments lining up for me, saying yes. Now I teach yoga, and it's just like I feel like fully aligned in where I was supposed to be always. So yeah, I never would have done anything like this. Yoga, it wasn't even on my radar when I was married. Like I never practiced yoga. Yoga is what saved me after my marriage. So yeah, and just the opportunities that have come with that.
That's how you find things, though. I appreciate you saying too, like, by saying yes, and then you invested what came to you into you, because we have to. You took what
Yep.
came to you, used it, and you invested in yourself to figure out. I never thought I'd be sitting here. We were just talking about me booking coaching sessions, doing coaching. That came from saying, fuck it, leaving toxic stuff, getting into a podcast, us becoming, Carl and I are doing all these kind of things in the last few months with our, even this space. And you don't know any of that's going to come. You just kind of like find yourself, and then it lands and it feels like, oh, this is what feels good. This is aligned with who I am.
But
Yes.
because it's like we always say, it's a snowball effect.
It
Like
is.
Mhm.
once you realize and you have that like fuck this, and it's just like I'm not going to put up with this anymore. This, I deserve better than this. Then you start to really open your eyes to the opportunities that might have always been around you. You just didn't see it because you were in this bubble of yours. But like the moment you say F it, it's like a whole new vision
Yes.
emerges, you know? So
Mhm.
it's like that's why these F it moments are so important for everybody to have, you know?
They are, but also like
Yeah.
when you say like, and I think that this is important as well because I've been in your shoes. I've had to remove myself from that. When you remove that big, big toxic relationship, when you put yourself first on a way that shifts your entire family, your children, your friends, everything, then like what you said, then you're looking at your friends and you're like, you know what, you don't fucking work either. I got rid of him. You don't work. Then you look at some of your family members and you're like, you're toxic as shit too. Like I'm cleaning house. And then you look at
Yeah.
your job and you're like, why would I leave a husband and shake my whole world up, but then show up for 8 hours and work for you? Like,
Yep. Absolutely.
you just change everything and you don't want anything toxic. So everyone's got to fucking go at some point.
I
Like,
had to create my own peace.
yeah,
Yeah.
in
You
all
have to.
areas.
Yep.
Well, you've upped your standard. You upped your own standards. Like that's what it is. Like you now are like, I was able to do this. I'm able to say fuck it and look where I'm at. My standards are here. So
Yep.
everybody's got to fall in line with those standards or you just you no longer work. And that's what's hard about these effort moments because when you change and people around you are so used to you being this certain way, that's where a lot of that friction comes because they're like, who is this person and who do they think they are? But that's their own stuff projected onto you. But that's why you got to clean house, as Romy says.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to. Well, this would bring me then to my next question, then, which would be, how were you able to work through that negative talk? I'm sure you got from everybody and yourself, like your own self doubt that came up, and the people around you. How were you able to work through all that?
um, Constantly telling myself, in my marriage, I was constantly telling myself, you are not these things when I would hear these awful things. So I was doing the same things, knowing I don't care what anyone around me says. I don't care your opinion on marriage and sticking it out and all these things that I was hearing. I'm unhappy.
Yes.
And I had to go and I had to do it for me. And it was for me.
Yes.
I just knew I had ignored my gut feeling, trusting my inner guide for way too long to care. And again, my dad was dying of brain cancer, so other people's opinion mattered so little at that point. I was so numb, like balancing all of it, that I was like, I don't even care. You could tell me anything. I don't care. I have to do this for me. I knew it. My gut was telling me, and I don't know what in my life allowed me to be able to hear my inner guide so well, because a lot of people don't until they do the work or if they do the work. But there was a voice that just kept telling me, like, block it out. And then yoga came in probably soon after my marriage and divorce. I started practicing yoga, and that was a good place to sit with it, breathe with it, and work through it.
I mean, that couldn't have been more of a beautiful tool. I love yoga. I've gotten into breathing and meditation and all of that over the last like 6 months, and it's a lifesaver. It's a spiritual inter space. So for you to find that, I'm curious too, like with your father going through a life and death experience in this, I imagine it also gave you some perspective about how fragile your life is, right? And dealing with that on top of that, because we realize like it's so short. It's yours. What are you going to do with it?
Hmm. And taking in good things too. Like I had said before, I was paying attention to what I was listening to. So I was starting my day with Gary Vee,
Same.
Tommy,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
all these people who are hyping me up,
Yes.
feeding me positive things. Because again, my circle was not that. I had to find a new circle. And where I was at the time, I wasn't finding it. So I actively searched for it. And that's what I was putting in my mind to stay focused.
I mean, you are what you surround yourself. We hear about it. Carl and I, this, are big podcasters. We are all day long motivational, sending each other. I will say that those podcasts over the last year have saved my life, because I'm feeding myself my hype. Is like you said, it's your hype men. It's that positive, what you listen to, what you read, what you see, what you hear. That is what quantumly like becomes you, right? That is like the energy and words you are putting into you. So if you're not getting that from the people and space around you, you have resources like podcasts, like a space like this, to listen to things, to remind yourself that you've got people like you in the world that are like moving through these things. And I'm Christian, and biblically, like the Bible talks about, like, right, like what you read and think and all that stuff. And if you put your head in the Bible every day, you're going to live this way. If you think about it on not a biblical space, but like just a overall like way of life, this has been how it has been for fucking ever. If you
Right.
read something and put those words into you, that's what you're going to be.
Yep. I woke up and would write like 5, 10 things I was grateful for, that my health, a
Yeah.
house, heat, lights, like a job, all these things that were like I needed.
Yeah.
I'm okay. Like I
Yeah.
had to keep reminding myself, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's a lot of work. I spent a lot of time alone, a lot of time in tears,
Yeah.
a lot of time just sitting with feelings and working through the shit, all of the shit
Yeah.
that comes up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's that's what you have to do in order to get to a place where you can look at yourself in the mirror and be like, I love me and I'm proud of me. Like you just have to work through all of that crap, because could you have really said that about yourself when you were going through or still in that, toxic relationship? It's hard to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and say all those positive things. But once you've had that moment and you've worked through all these things, and it's a continual, like we'll always be working through these things if we're aware of it, but you can be proud of the fact that you're putting the work in, because you
Yeah.
are bettering yourself, not just for you but for your kids and for anyone else that comes into your life, and that's super important.
And
So
all the work that you're doing. Yeah, like
yeah,
you're working with people every day. You're in a space of helping people find inner peace, right? You actually create spaces to help others center themselves. Like the only way for you to do that is to know how to do that. That is why you're made to do that, right? Like life will put you through things that you don't understand sometimes, because it's going to use you in some way.
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had to go through all of it to be who I am, for sure.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
I'm curious, like, how would you have described that old Allison compared to the new Allison sitting here talking to us, divorced and living her life?
Unrecognizable from the woman I was 7, 8 years ago. She was sad, broken, but didn't really know how broken. I
Yeah.
mean, I was still a happy person. I always have been just a smiley, always look for the good, but it was more like a Stepford wife type back then. It was like internally, I'm dying and crying and screaming to get
Mm-hmm.
free.
Mm-hmm.
But I put on a good show. When I look back at photos, I can see broken. I can
Yeah.
see just sad.
Yeah.
Um, like there's just joy now. So poor little baby Allison. She struggled through so
You get
much.
to love her though.
Well, she was the caterpillar, and
Yeah.
now you're the butterfly, which,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
crazy enough, there's a picture of a butterfly right behind her, people, if you're watching this.
Yeah, I think it is that evolution though. And I do, I've been through similar like struggles, and so many of us on here have. And it really is, I have that butterfly thing. I have it tattooed on me. I think about it all the time. It is the evolution, and it is how I'm able to have empathy for other women and moms in this space, and how I'm able to sit in a session with somebody. You don't get to do these beautiful things and contributions to the world without understanding it and being able to like offer something back through it. So you can either take these horrible experiences in your life and you can become quiet and broken forever. And so many have, and we've seen it. We have family members, we have friends that we watch do that. Or you can take them, you can let them break you, and you can use them, right? In such beautiful ways to offer something back with them. And you have. And so like I see you on social media. I see your journey for what you do show. And it is very much, it feels like a butterfly. It's just a powerful, strong woman physically and inside and all your posts and stuff. So we see you and it's beautiful. My next question then would be, what would your message be to empower your children who are like listening to this story? What is your message to them?
To my children, oh man, I've been talking to my children since they were very young about things my family never told me. So trust your gut, do what you love, choose joy, like choose it daily. I've embedded these things in my kids' mind because no one ever did for me. So it's just trust yourself, use your voice, speak up for yourself. And they don't care who you are, how old you are, they're going to tell you when you're wrong. And I love to see it because I didn't have that voice. So yeah, trust your gut. Your inner knowing is wiser than anything happening around you.
Yeah, and learning to stand up for yourself and like have those boundaries. Like it's just not something that I mean, you're saying you, but I know that our generation
All of
for the
us.
most part and older, like we were just told to be polite, don't ruffle the feathers,
Yep.
stay and be pretty.
Be a
And
good girl.
yeah, and it's just like no. I mean, Romy, I know her daughter is like a wild child, my daughter is, but it's because like we are doing the work that we didn't, like the work wasn't put into us, so we're putting the work into them. And it's not work, it's just like, hey, what do you say to yourself every morning? How do you look at
Mhm.
yourself? You're strong, you're brave, you're capable, and you can do all
Yes.
these things. It's so important that we instill this in our children. And I think it's like I always say on here, there's hope for the future because people like you, people like the women that we interview, we're doing this, whether it's a
Hmm.
boy, whether it's with sons or with daughters. I think that next generation of adults are going to change the world because
Hmm.
we are so much more mindful of what we received and how we don't want to pass that along.
Right.
So,
Yeah, my youngest son actually followed in my footsteps and got certified as a yoga teacher. So 18 years old, already
Oh, I
certified.
love
oh
that.
wow, that's so great.
Beautiful to see the whole journey. And I'm proud of me for
Yeah.
raising two kids to adulthood basically by myself.
I'm so happy you said that out loud. You should say that. I am proud of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing. Everyone should be because these things are not easy journeys to go through.
Single mom is the hardest thing I've ever done. Being a parent in general is hard work, but doing it by
I
yourself.
have so much new love for my mother. Here I am at 42, watching what she went through with 3 children at 21. And
Hmm.
all the anger I had at her my whole life for not getting anything fucking right. I look at her right now and I just want to squeeze her because I'm older and I'm like, you didn't know what you were doing. And we're all okay. We're all more than okay. And
Stayed alive.
you were growing up while raising us. And
Yeah.
you came from a family that like was from orphans and never knew how to raise kids. So it was just this generational thing. So,
Yep.
yes, like I hear you and feel you, and when you get to look at your children grown and raised and healthy and going in good places, yeah, you need to look at yourself and be like, fuck yeah.
I did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, when my youngest graduated over the summer, I was like,
Yes.
I don't know how we got here. It went by so fast
Yeah.
and it's a wild ride, but I did it.
Yeah.
I did that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're incredible humans. So, I'm super proud of my work
Yes, I love
as
Nice.
a
that so
mother.
much. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that so much. Well, Allison, again, thank you for sharing like such a vulnerable and raw story. This space, as you know, podcasts help us. They help you, they help us. So we hope that this helps somebody listening as well. And where can people follow you? What are you working on? Where can they go to your yoga? Share it all.
Yes. Black Swan Yoga in Austin, just about anywhere. I'm at several different studios. You can follow me on Instagram, Allie in Wanderlust. Allie,
Oh, Allie.
ALLI, in Wanderlust.
Awesome.
Yes. And I'm always got yoga events going on this Sunday, a yin. But yeah, always events at the yoga studio, so come check me out.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, this is where we're all going to say just F it. We are going to have to just say it individually because we can never sync it. And actually, now we don't want to sync it. We want
We're
to
not
hear
gonna sync it,
everybody
yeah.
say it. So, Allison, please do this the honor.
Just F it.
Just F it.
Just F it.